This video is for the men out there that want to become great fathers for their kids and realize that they need a little bit of help on their journey to getting there. You know, it's not easy being a man today. In fact, I'd argue that there's never been a more focused effort in history to demoralize and disenfranchise men in society and in the home and to portray us as dumb and selfish and useless. Am I right? In fact, even masculinity itself is under attack and is labeled as fundamentally toxic and dangerous. And it makes sense, right? Because if you want to break down a society and erode its moral compass, what better way to do that than to cut the legs out from under those who actually have a backbone and are willing to stand up for what's right? But if men really are irrelevant and a strong masculine voice in the home isn't necessary, then explain these statistics to me. Why is it that 85% of the men that spend time in prison didn't have a father figure in their home? And why is it that women are 7 times more likely to get pregnant in their teens when they don't have a father in the home growing up? And why is it that both are 4 times more likely to grow up in poverty and half as likely to go to college when they don't have a father in their home helping them stay on track? Such strange coincidences. I just can't figure it out. But in all seriousness, even if you've started to see through all these cultural lies and nonsense, and you've begun to realize what a crucial role you have for your children as their father, that doesn't mean that as a committed father, the path of how you raise your children up successfully in today's day and age is clear. Let's face it, things are a little bit different today than they were for fathers in past generations. I mean, how many of our dads were faced with questions like, what do you do when your son comes home from school having been convinced that he's a girl or maybe a cat? Or how many of our dads had to guide their kids through living in lockdown for a year plus and being completely isolated, and then figuring out what to do when they become these antisocial zombies that can't talk to another human being unless it's online through a headset playing a video game. And the list could go on and on, right? Let's face it, guys, if we're going to be the fathers that we want to be for our kids today, we all need help. And so the question is, where do we find it? So I remember when I had first become a father and I was in that place with my first son, Caleb, where I quickly started realizing, man, I need some help with this fatherhood thing. I do not know what I'm doing. And I tried a bunch of different things. I tried reading books. I talked to, men that had been fathers before, but I realized that although there was a lot of general advice out there, no one knew this child that had been given to me specifically and what their specific needs were. And they weren't there in all the little moments when I hit a bump or had a crisis and didn't know how to handle it. And so I was in that place of trying to figure out, how do I do this? And that's when this thought started dropping into my mind. And I started asking myself, I wonder if my father, my heavenly father, has any advice for me on how to handle this situation. And what I began to realize is that not only was my heavenly father present to me as a dad, and that I could turn directly to him and ask him for advice on this situation or that, and that I would actually receive back from him a sense of how to handle the situations that I was going through. But this larger realization started coming to me that beyond God's desire to help me out as a dad, he had a stake in what was going on in my children's life. In fact, he had a greater and deeper investment in my children than I did, because he showed me that, putting me completely aside, it was like he said to me, Tyler, before you were even born, before I even laid the foundations of the world, I thought of this child that I've given you, and I had a plan for who I created him to be. I thought out what he was going to look like, how his mind would be set up and operate, what his heart would be predisposed to feel, and how it would respond to things. And I had a plan for his life, and I love him. And I am fully invested in helping him become everything that I created him to be. And that really blew my mind and changed my perspective on what it meant to be a dad in this life, because it was like he turned the whole fatherhood idea around in my head and said, this whole challenge of being a good dad isn't about me helping you be who you want to be for your kids. It's about you being close enough to me so that you can help me raise them up to be who I created them to be. So once that light bulb went off in my head, I realized, who else am I going to turn to raise my kids up in the right way than the one who thought of my children and has a plan for their life? And what I've discovered through the process of exploring that revelation of raising my children up in partnership with my Heavenly Father is that the surprising reality is that the way to become the best father that you can be for your kids is to learn how to connect directly and personally with your Heavenly Father, who created your children and has a plan for their lives and is present enough and concerned enough to intervene when we turn to Him and show us how to handle all the situations that come up in our life as dads. So, if what I've been talking about resonates with you and you are open to the possibility of learning how to connect more deeply and personally with a living and real and present Heavenly Father in your own life who wants to help you become the best father that you can be for your kids, then I want to encourage you to sign up for a course that I've created for men like you called Fathering with the Father. Fathering with the Father is a 6-week online course that can be taken in the comfort of your own home on whatever schedule works for you, but that leads men into the practice of how to turn to their Heavenly Father and to receive from Him the personal insight and guidance and encouragement that they need in order to raise their children up to live the lives that they were born for. So guys, if that interests you, we'd love for you to sign up for the course by going to our website at fatheringwiththefather.org or email us for more information at fatheringwiththefather@gmail.com. God bless you guys and hope to connect with you soon.